clear up keeping the real feast of dedication versus the Jewish, and I emphasize Jewish traditions that are man-made traditions that can't be found anywhere in the Torah. And so we're going to show that those are actually made up. And this is why it's essential that, you know, we cling to our Israelite heritage. And we're ordered to, you know, we're ordered to keep these feast days, you know, especially, you know, the men, we're supposed to congregate on these feast days. You know, a lot of people don't think it's important. Like I say, you know, you got a lot of people right now that's not even tuning into this call when, you know, they really should be. So, you know, you hear a lot of so-called people call it Hanukkah. You know, it's really, you know, the feast of dedication. Sometimes they'll call it the feast of lights. But you're gonna learn today why, you know, they call it that. And I'm gonna tell you, just like a lot of the Christian philosophies, like a lot of these people are worshiping, you know, the sun god Nimrod. And so you got to be careful what sort of menorah and all of that you're using, because a lot of these people, they created their own menorahs, and it's not Torah. It's not Torah centered. So, you know, we're gonna go into it. You know, this is not intended to offend anyone, but I mean, if you're offended, then it should, you know, tell you something about your I guess traditions of men instead of following the spirit of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shah. And, you know, this is not an attack on anyone. It's, you know, just the truth after all of the fiction that's actually been given to our people. And so, you know, with that, I guess, you know, go ahead and get started. Now, for those of us who, you know, find ourselves within the community of the Hebrew Israelite roots movement, you know, hopefully, you know, we've learned the principles that help us to understand the scriptures in a way that had previously escaped most of us. Most people on the call today probably don't know how to keep the Feast of Dedication. They go to YouTube and they see other people doing it. They don't necessarily do it right. Like a lot of these Israelites, they learn on YouTube, but they're not really learning the truth. A lot of it is Jewish traditions of men. Now, one of these principles is actually the agreement of the Torah, which is actually the foundation for understanding the rest of the scriptures. If you want to understand the what they call the New Testaments, you got to understand the Torah. And so we are actually to interpret the end from the beginning. That's according to Yeshaya, the book of Isaiah 46 and 10. Can someone get that? Book of Isaiah 46 verse 10. We're supposed to interpret that end by the beginning, from the beginning, meaning we learn the Torah first. So you got to be Torah centered. And can you get that, good brother, Yashuba? Mute.
Khan, I got it.
All right.
Book of Isaiah, chapter 46, verse 10. Declaring the end from the beginning.
Khan.
And from ancient times, the things that are not yet done, saying, my counsel shall stand, and I will do all my pleasure.
So that's meaning that, you know, we should not read anything in the Brit Chadash, meaning the New Testaments, the Brit Kadash, so-called New Testaments, which does not, in principle, agree with the Torah and the Tanakh. And so reading and understanding the scriptures from this perspective essentially enable us to walk in the way in which Yeshua, Yahweh Shah, intended. That sidestepping outside of that can lead us to trouble. And that's the way it is with a lot of Israelite camps today. So on this point, I hope everyone under the sounds of our voice today will agree. Now, so with that in mind, let's explore the subject of what Jews, Jewish, we won't say Jews, we'll say Jewish people refer to as Hanukkah. We refer to as the Feast of Dedication, which, some may associate with historical events around the impressions or those oppressions that Antiochus essentially calls upon the Jews, right? During the time of the Maccabees. Now, this can actually be found in the book of Maccabees, and we'll go into it a little bit later. But I do not believe that the underlying story is just that. When you're dealing with that, I think it actually stems all the way back to the Garden of Eden and what happened there. What happened in the Garden of Eden? Our parents, our forefathers, Adam and Eve, pretty much Eve and then Adam listened to his wife. They decided to lean on their own understanding. Scriptures tell us not to follow your own understanding. So they decided to lean on their own understanding. And so throughout the scriptures, we see that Israelites struggle to trust Yahweh. You got to give it up. Most Israelites, they struggle to trust Yahweh, the one that the world calls God. And they struggle to obey him, to be a set apart, meaning holy. We're supposed to be a set apart people who do not involve themselves in false worship. Why are so many people involved in false worship? That's referring to themselves as Israelites and Jews. So the Heavenly Father, these people coming in late is a distraction, man. Shalom. So the Heavenly Father makes it very clear to us that he is in a set apart realm, right? He wants us to walk there with him. He doesn't want us to worship any other gods. He doesn't want us to follow the tradition of man, but we must move away from the things that the Most High deem as inappropriate. And it's he makes that very clear in black and white. You understand? He makes it very clear, black and white. The world of our Creator, we don't fit into, the Hamashiach said to come out of this world. We're not supposed to be fitting into this world, right? And the ways of the Most High doesn't sit well in this age of man. Book of Proverbs, the 3rd chapter, tells us not to lean on our own understandings. But it seems like someone want to get that? Trust in the Lord with all that hope and soul and lean not towards our own understanding. Book of Proverbs, 3rd chapter. It seems like a habit that's actually been engraved into most of the people that's referring to themselves as believers, that they're leaning on their own understanding, even to this day. Because what? It's because of man's carnal nature.
Proverbs chapter 3, verse 5. Trust in the Lord with all thine heart and lean not on thine own understanding.
Come. The water. So we're not supposed to lean on our own understanding, man. But our carnal nature is the consequences of who? Of our parents, of our peers, of the people that we affiliate with. And now the new thing, like brother Isaiah says, these damn popcorn Israelites is going on to YouTube, getting some information, not really doing thorough research. They just get it over the internet and they trust in it. You see what I'm saying? Instead of obeying the plan and the precepts of the scriptures and learning the precepts for themselves. And so this leads to confusion and also to rationalization and self-justification. A lot of people, you can tell them something's wrong, like the things, we was covering about these Hispanics and Latino not being Israelites. People still try and justify that. Why? Because they're leaning on their own understanding. They try to rationalize what they want, self-justification. All of this drives us away from Yahweh Shah. And even worse, it causes the next generation to stray away and stumble. See, that's why we still in captivity, man. When Moshe, the one that you call Moses, died, and Joshua took Allah into the promised land, Israel failed to obey Yahweh's instruction to root out all people. So that includes Latinos, man, and so-called Hispanics. The Lord told us to root out all people who live in the land that he was actually giving the nation of Israel. Stop me where I'm lying at. So why? Because these people were idol worshipers. And he had actually chosen our ancestors to worship only him and him only. But because we fell to rid the land of the people who would actually cause us to go astray from him, we have never had pure worship on the planet. We've never had pure worship on the planet Earth. We have always had a mixture. People, why? Israel don't want to do right. And as much as we desire to worship purely in the spirit and in truth, we have a very hard time doing it. I want you to reflect very deeply, right, about this truth, right? The earth is polluted with a mixture of Yahweh's commandments and a coloring of them with your own habits and practices. See, this is the substance of human tradition. It has nothing to do with scripture, has nothing to do with Torah, has nothing to do with the laws of the Most High. And so often these traditions center on what? On idolatry. And most of you don't even know it, like Christmas coming up in a few days. That's all based on the worship of Nimrod. And I'm going to show you how the people that refer to themselves as Jewish is tied into that worship, man. So, I mean, these are traditions based on idolatry and subsequent worship of false gods, even though most of you may not even know it. And most that do know it won't admit it. So now, many of us who've actually come out of a church system, most of us, probably everyone on this call right now was raised in a church system, right? And then you gather understanding, right, of these pagan origins like Christmas, Easter, Sunday worship. You see what I'm saying? Justify going to church on a Sunday, good brother Yashabam. You can't do it. It's not in the Bible. The Lord tells us when to worship, man. We're supposed to worship on the Shabbat. The Lord gave us 6 days to work, but the 7th day is the Shabbat. It's supposed to be holy, and we worship and we read Torah. So we can see that paganism in some Christian traditions, we must also consider this possibility in what they refer to as Jewish traditions, emphasis added. And a lot of you Israelites, you follow Jewish traditions. See, humans have a strong desire to celebrate. It's in your nature. Most of you know, most of you seen my video that birthdays are satanic, but you still celebrate them. You got your damn child sitting there in front of a damn cake, not realizing that the cake is symbolic to the moon. That's why they make it round, because they used to worship the moon. Tazadaq, I make mine square. So damn what? Because you alter it a little bit, you think that changes it? This is why they put candles on it. The candles represents the fires in the depths of hell. So you're paying homage to the moon god when you light these birthday candles and all of this and so on and so forth. It's all satanic. But you said, well, that's not the reason I do it. But if you do it, you're still paying homage to it. You understand? Because you love to celebrate. And so we sometimes neglect the need to conform in scriptures that what and how we celebrate is pleasing to our Father, Yahweh. So if we don't do this, we could fall prey to our adversary who knows how to tempt us through lust and lust of the flesh. So you don't just have the lust of the flesh. You can lust for many things. The lust of the eyes and the pride of life. So we are constantly attracted to that which is new. New. I mean, how many of you remember in high school, new girl came? Oh, wow, that's a new person right there. New person in the class. You're attracted to things that's new. You want a new car, new house, new pair of Nikes from the god Nike. Because that's what when you wear Nikes, paying homage to the god Nike. You understand? That boomerang that's on Nike is so that the money goes back to Nike, not you, LeBron James, you other that sponsor Nike. The bulk of the money goes back to Nike. See, it happened with our ancestors. And so it continues. It continues today as a result of ingesting the fruit we were told not to eat. You're still ingesting the fruit just like Eve. A lot of you men are. You're ingesting the fruit of other philosophies that we were told not to eat. Are we aware just how easily the new thing can tempt us? Oh, yeah, I want a new car. Are we truly on guard against it? See, that's the question. Now, I've heard a lot of people claim to have Israelite roots, Hebrew roots, so on and so forth, say that they celebrate Hanukkah because Yahushua did. That they are very much looking forward to the parties, the jelly donuts. I don't know if any of you know anything about Hanukkah. It's a Jewish tradition. They believe that you're supposed to eat fried food and so on and so forth. The lighting of the Hanukkah, the Menorah, right? See, some believe that the gifts givings, because now the peoples in the Jewish communities, they turn it into like a Christmas. They started gift giving and all of that. Just like Christmas. But they won't talk about that, will they? So some believe that gift giving and sending Hanukkah cards and playing with what is that thing called Dreidel. That's what it's called. The Dreidel that they play with, that they teach children to gamble with.
Dreidel.
Yeah.
Dreidel. Yeah.
Yeah. Dreidel. That's what they call it. Dreidel. They even got songs about it. Dreidel. Yeah. Yeah. So the dreidel, they use that to teach children to gamble, man. And I'm gonna hit you with something, man. Israelites shouldn't be doing that, man. That's a Jewish tradition. So, and then they hand out miracle oil, right? And that's supposed to be symbolic to what the Maccabees was doing. They think all of this are good things, but they put it in solidarity with our brother Judah. Now, there are many ministries that teach this. A lot of them, most Jewish, but a lot of Israelites also. But the solidarity is not to be sought at the cost of being pure, of purity. So our highest priority should be discovering our Father's will, Yahweh's will, and honoring his will by walking in it. Now, it has actually not been unusual to see Hebrew Israelites and so-called true believers misunderstanding how to obey the Torah. A lot of them don't read the Torah. Talk to a lot of Israelites, they don't know the Torah. They don't know the laws. So if you don't know the laws, how are you going to follow the Most High? See, most women don't know that there's a law in the Torah. If she's on her menstrual, she's not even supposed to congregate. Why? You don't read the Torah. You don't think it's necessary. You're nothing but a Christian that's calling yourself an Israelite. I mean, by religious base. Now, who knows how to do it very well? We are all learning, right? I'm still in the process of learning. Because the very moment that you stop learning, you begin the process of death. But there is much unlearning that needs to occur, much unlearning that needs to be done. When we come out of false systems, people got to admit that when West, what was, the foundation may have been good, but a lot of that was a false system. They got to admit that Hispanics, Latinos are not Israelites. Now, perhaps For sometimes it is a much longer, much difficult process than what was assumed at first glance, right? But the answer is to not pick up the tenets of another false system. You got to restrain from it, man. Even though it looks better to us than what we had, right? We're not to do it. The Lord said, don't do it. See, different isn't always better, good brother Eleazar, if you're on the call. Different isn't always right, right? Yahweh has created us to worship and celebrate only what he wants, right? We must do it according to his protocol, not our own. So the appointed times were created for meeting with him and for celebrating our lives together, right? And for more deeply understanding the work and the person of Yahweh Shah. So if only as much attention were lavish on the modium as there is these man-made holidays, if you focus that much attention on Leviticus, the 23rd chapter, you will be much better off. That will be a true blessing to you from the Father. Now, in order to more clearly understand the subject of the Feast of Dedication, what they call Hanukkah, this stream explores the grammar, the history, and some of the traditions of this holy day that they call a holiday, right? Well, a holiday means holy day anyways, right? So I will also go into some of the scriptures in the book of John, chapter 10, which is actually taken to mean that Yeshua celebrated Hanukkah. See, it is not meant to be an exhaustive study, this stream, is it? But rather to present an informed perspective to those that don't know and want to correct what they've been doing. Now, I purposely avoided studying any of the alleged prophetic significance of Hanukkah, and if the Most High permits, I'll explore that particular subject matter at a different time. But my goal in this stream is to separate out what is human tradition from what may be permissible in spiritual tradition according to Yah. So this information may be used for you in your studies if you so choose to do so. And to all of you that's listening on YouTube, I welcome your input if you provide it in any way that honors our Creator and that adheres to the rules of good scholarship. If you want to come as an idiot, if you want to come with buffoonery, then don't come at all. Don't come at all. Now, clearly presented rational discourse with no buffoonery in it is welcome. You understand? Now, what is the grammatical meaning of Hanukkah or the Feast of Dedication? Let me share my screen a bit because I was actually doing put a meeting in the room here. Share my screen here. All right. Roger that, Nasha. Got you. Okay, man. Oh, man. I have a problem with this PowerPoint. I can't even pull this up, man. Definitely should have went to the other computer, man. I don't even know if I can open this PowerPoint slide on this computer. Jeez Louise. No. This thing's trying to do an update.
Join the meeting.
Okay, can one of you speak for a second? I'm gonna have to move to my other computer, man. It's a PowerPoint slide. I can't open over here. Someone just, talk about whatever. You guys can go over some scriptures, whatever, man.
Con, I got you.
Hey, you could talk to him about, you know, cleansing or something like that, man, doing a detox, whatever.
Con. All right, so there's something I was going to put up in the next video, so I'll just go ahead and do a little bit right now before I do the video myself. First, I'm going to say all praise to Most High, Yahweh Hashem Yahushua. But in my studies, I'm always looking for something that I haven't really caught from prior to, you know, so I take everything as if I'm a babe in the word, which for the most part I am. You know, like Kahan was saying, you know, most of us came from like a Christian background, even though I didn't grow up in a church. That's more so of what my outlook was. So I noticed throughout the time, I guess like the past about the past 2.5, 3 months, you know, we've been tasked with trying to read the whole Bible in its entirety. And one of the things that I noticed is during the times when these sacrifices was going on, and feast days and Sabbath days, every time, and I just caught it, every time that there is a meat offering, meaning M-E-A-T, meat offering, the Most High put it in the word as being the most holy. All right. So that is the most holy offering that can be given during these times of like dedication and sin offerings and, you know, free will offerings and everything like that. And when you look at the description of what those are, it is actually always dealing with some type of seed. And the majority of the time they say it's, you know, it's supposed to be fine. So it's supposed to be ground up real fine flour mingled with oil. And then when they sacrifice animals, they never use the word meat. They always use the word flesh. So that further solidifies, you know, on us being in line with the Most High. You know, when we do consume animals, that, you know, they should be of a certain type and on only certain parts of their bodies as well. And we're supposed to be, if we do consume it, it's supposed to be washed in you know, clean water and then burned, because the blood and the fat is supposed to be the Lord's. I know I said that in the previous video, but I didn't ever connect that precept together. But let me go ahead and pull it up right quick. So we all know, well, I'm gonna go ahead and say it, you know, check out Genesis 1:29. And then after we go through Genesis, I'm gonna go ahead and go to Exodus and Leviticus real quick. But Genesis 1:29, and it reads, God said, behold, I've given you every herb bearing seed, which is upon the face of all the earth, and every tree in which is the fruit of a tree yielding seed to you, which shall be for meat. So here we go, talking about plants for meat. And then in the next verse, it also read, and to every beast of the earth and every fowl of the air and everything that creep upon the earth, wherein there is life, I've given every green herb for meat. There's another plant. All right. And then when during the time when we were in captivity in Egypt, after Joseph has reigned, and Moses had to, you know, go in and tell the Pharaoh to let the people go and do all that. They saw fit to give us instructions on what we should be eating. So apparently the reason why, well, it's obvious that we were off at that time, which is why, you know, we were in another land. We're in Egypt, living good, doing whatever for years. We got in captivity, and during the time in captivity, we got off from what we're supposed to have been doing and getting disconnected from the Most High. So here we're in the wilderness, and then He's letting us know, what we should be doing as far as what we're supposed to be eating. So I'm gonna go ahead and go ahead and show you guys this other precept. This thing. Here we go. So in Leviticus, we're gonna go straight to Leviticus 2:1, and it reads, "And any will offer a meat offering unto the Lord, his offering should be of fine flour, and he shall pour oil upon it and put frankincense thereon." So right here in Leviticus 2:1, it's telling us that the meat offering is of fine flour, which flour comes from grains, which is seeds and stuff, and mingle with oil and frankincense thereon. And then skipping down to 3, and it says, "In the remnant of the meat offering is supposed to be Aaron's and for his sons. It is a thing most holy of the offerings of the Lord." Of the Lord, made by fire. All right. So that's what kind of threw me off. Now, I've read that area. I've read Leviticus, to what I thought was countless times. But for whatever reason, the Most High saw fit to, bring this out to me. And it's in there over and over again. So I was like, hold on a second, let me keep going. So you got let me see if we skip all the way to where let's see here. If we go all the way to Leviticus 6:20, let me go ahead and read that one. It says, "This is the offering of Aaron and of his sons, which they shall offer unto the Lord, and the day when he is anointed, 1/10 part of it says ephah of fine flour for a meat offering perpetual, and it says half of it in the morning and half thereof at night." And then you got verse 21. It says, "In a pan it shall be made with oil. When it is baked, thou shalt bring it, and the baked pieces of the meat offering shall thou offer for a sweet savor unto the Lord." And we already read that, it's the most holy. So I'm pretty sure that there's something to this, in the offering. I'm noticing also he says nothing about it being about any leaven being in it as well. So that's another thing. So something's like that, is most holy, and there's no leaven in it, and Most High regards it.
Can you see that on the screen?
Oh, Khan, yep, I can see it.
All right, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so now I already know that sugar, we don't need sugar to be we don't need sugar to live. Our body makes sugar from the stuff that we eat. And the fact that the thing that the Most High regards as most holy has no sugar in it, which means it has to be life. So I just want to go ahead and put that out there before I put that up in the next video. The most holy offering to the Most High has nothing to do with the animal. When we sacrifice the animal, he did accept it, but the most holy offering was that of a plant in the form of fine flour mingled with oil and on frankincense.
So we're gonna get back to this. I think I got an echo here. Do you hear an echo with me?
Yes.
Yeah, that other computer is still logged on. I gotta log off of that. So talk for a minute again.
So we can Leviticus go ahead and pull this whole thing up. And then you guys can see. I'm gonna start from Leviticus 9. I'm gonna go all the way down. So Leviticus 9, and I'm gonna go through verse 11 to get the full picture. Leviticus 9:1. "And it came to pass on the 8th day that Moses called Aaron and his sons and the elders of Israel And he said unto Aaron, take thee a young calf for a sin offering and a ram for a burnt offering without blemish, and offer them before the Lord. Now, two things I noticed a good brother Yeshua brought to my attention some months ago is that when we do eat it, I think it was Yeshua, but when they offered an offering of an animal of it was a male and it was under a year old. All right, so that has a significance of the meat or the flesh on it not being corrupt just yet, because it was still be on breast milk. So that's scientifically speaking, that makes the most sense. But
Hey, Salaki, hey, this might end and start again because I gotta shut this computer down. So it might end the meeting when I log out of this one right here. You could go ahead, brother. You can continue, but let's see if I can.
Oh no, it didn't end the meeting. It just went to his other laptop, so that's good. And it said, verse 3, it says, and unto the children of Israel thou shalt speak, saying, take ye a kid goat for a sin offering, and a calf and a lamb, and both of the first year without blemish for a burnt offering. So never did the Most High ever call sacrificing an animal a meat offering. Just so I want to go ahead and make that point again. Verse 4, also a bullock and a ram for a peace offering to sacrifice before the Lord, and the meat offering mingled with oil for today the Lord will appear unto you. Now here we go. We got meat offering mingled with oil. That's a separation than the animal being sacrificed. Verse 5, and they brought that which Moses commanded before the tabernacle of the congregation, and all the congregation drew near and stood before the Lord. 6, and Moses said, this is the thing which the Lord command that ye should do, and the glory of the Lord shall appear unto you. 7, and Moses said unto Aaron, go unto the altar and offer my sin offering and a burnt offering, and make an atonement for thyself and for thy people, and offer the offering of the people, and make an atonement for them as the Lord commanded. Verse 8, and therefore they went unto the altar and slew a calf for a sin offering, which was for himself. Verse 9, and the sons of Aaron brought the blood onto him and dipped his finger in the blood, and put it upon the horns of the altar, and poured out the blood at the bottom of the altar. But the fat and the kidneys and the calf above the liver and the sin offering, he burnt offering upon the altar as the Lord commanded Moses, and the flesh and the hide he burnt with fire without the camp, meaning outside of the campgrounds. They didn't do it onto the altar. They took it away, because usually those are the parts that are unclean. This is stuff that actually keeps your blood clean and keeps your blood fresh. So that those parts they never burned in front of the in amongst the congregation on the altar. They always took it without the camp. And then let's see here. You got verse 13, and they presented the burnt offering unto him with the pieces thereof and the head, and he burned them upon the altar. And he did wash the inwards and the legs and burn them upon the burnt offering of the altar. It says, and he brought the people's offering and took the goat, which is a sin offering for the people, and he slew it and offered for a sin offering as the first. And he brought the burnt offering and offered according to the manner, and brought the meat offering and took a handful thereof and brought it upon the altar beside the burnt sacrifices of the morning. So that's saying it's a meat offering. And he said a handful. So just, you guys just go ahead and think, a handful of a meat offering. It can't be a full animal, because these animals, you couldn't fit in the palm of your hand, or even neither one part. And
Salaki, can you hear me?
Khan.
Oh yeah, just want to make sure you can hear me. Yeah, so I didn't in the meeting. I just left the other one and came in on this computer.
Good deal. You got it, Khan.
Yeah, so let me go ahead and share the screen again here. Just want to make sure we're still logged on the YouTube as well, but I see it still is. All right, so right now the origin of the Israelites' holy day called Hanukkah. I'll put some Hebrew things. So I mean that's the menorah, right? So now, what do you notice? Anyone know anything different about this particular menorah right here?
It looks like the center one is slightly above
Right.
the
Well,
other.
which is not scripture. Good eye. The center one is higher than the others. And as you see, there's 9 here. There's nothing in our history. There's nothing in Israelite history that talks about 9 candles on the menorah. When you see any of the ancient artifacts, when you read the readings of Josephus, it's always only 7. When we read in the book of Revelations, the book of Revelations 1 and 13 through 14, it says in the midst of 7 golden candlesticks. It's talking about this menorah. What you're looking up now is a made-up tradition of men. And you're going to find out they do this because they worship the sun, which is why they also refer to it as the Feast of Lights. But what light are they referring to? So there's nothing, and this is what I'm talking about, straying away from the Lord's statutes and commandments of the Most High and following the traditions of men. So now Jewish traditions teaches you take the center one and you use this to light the other candles. You see what I'm saying? That can't be found in scripture. In the 8 days, and they say it's for 8 days, these are all the traditions of men. It is not Torah. In order for us to do things right, it has to be Torah centered. And you got a lot of Israelites following this, man. So now this is how they teach you to light it. They teach you to light it left to right. You see what I'm saying? They teach you to light it left to right. We're going to find out what the scriptures say on this stuff. And we're going to see that there is no such thing as a 9-candle menorah with the center one lifted higher than the others. That's not what the Lord says. See, this is the work of JewISH people. This is not what Israelites do, man. But our people, they follow this, they go on the internet, they see this being done, they jump on board and they do the same thing and say, I got the truth. It's not the truth, brothers. And this is not to attack anyone. It's it's to bring out the truth. And can someone read this? This is what they teach, right? Arranging the candles, right? Anyone? Someone want to read that?
I got you. Arranging the candles. Begin at sunset of the 24th day of the month of Kislev. Gather your family or friends just after sunset. Place the shamash and the
Hanukkah. That's just another way of saying Hanukkah. Hanukkah.
In the Hanukkah.
They're calling that, what they're calling Hanukkah is the menorah. That they refer to it as Hanukkah also. And the Shamshas, I want you to pay special attention to that word, right? Go ahead.
And the other candles, lighting the shamash and saying the blessings. Like the shamash candle, say the first blessing over the candles. Recite the second blessing. Recite the, I don't even know what that says. Whatever that says. On the first night of Hanukkah, lighting the other candles.
That's Yiddish. That's why you don't understand it. Go ahead.
Light the candles with the shamash. Place the shamash candle back in its slot. Place the Hanukkah in the window. Let the candles burn themselves out.
Mm-hmm. Now, this is what they teach. Now, this is what I was getting to, the grammatical meaning of Hanukkah. Now, this is the entry for Hanukkah from the Complete World Study Dictionary. I'll look it up. You see Strong's H2598. It's a feminine noun meaning dedication. This is why we in Yasha Allah call it the Feast of Dedication. It's a ceremony. So that's why Hanukkah means dedication. Dedication to who? It's dedicated to the Maccabees and what we was going through at that time. It was used to show that something was officially in service. The word describes the dedication of the wall of Jerusalem after it was actually rebuilt under Nehemiah. Someone get the book of Nehemiah 12 and 27. Prove all things.
The book of Nehemiah, chapter 12, verse 27. And at the dedication of the wall of Jerusalem, they sought the Levites out of all their places to bring them to Jerusalem, to keep the dedication with gladness, both with thanksgiving and with singing, with cymbals, psalteries, and with harps.
So we could see Hanukkah for us is a celebration, and we could find that in the scriptures, right? So as long as in the scriptures, we're good. From there, let's go to the book of Psalms 30, verse 1. It refers to the dedication of David's house.
Book of Psalms, chapter 30, verse 1. I will exalt thee, O Lord, for thou hast lifted me up and hast not made my foes to rejoice over me. Verse 2.
That's good. So Mashar said that. So from there, let's go to Deuteronomy 20, verse 5. The word refers to an altar, dedication. Go ahead.
Deuteronomy chapter 20, verse 5. And the officer shall speak unto the people, saying, what man is there that hath built a new house and hath not dedicated it? Let him go and return to his house, lest he die in the battle, and another man dedicate it.
From there, let's go to 2 Chronicles 7, verse 9.
Second Chronicles chapter 7, verse 9. And in the 8th day they made a solemn assembly, for they kept the dedication of the altar 7 days and the feast 7 days.
Now, did everyone hear what that said? Read that last part again, Yeshaya.
And in the 8th day they made a solemn assembly.
Okay, so we assemble on the 8th day. Go ahead, read.
For they kept the dedication of the altar 7 days and the feast 7 days.
Now, why does Jewish people keep it 8 days? The scriptures say we kept it 7 days. Then we gathered on the 8th day. Well, why are they keeping it 8 days? Understand, their menorah, they put 8 candles on there because they keep the feast 8 days. It's made up. It's traditions of men. And they use the center one to light the others. It's not scriptural. Where did they get that from? They're following the Kabbalah. They're following the Talmud. These are writings of men, not of the Most High. From there, let's go to the book of Numbers, the 7th chapter, verse 10 through 11. And this is not to attack anyone. This is showing you who's really teaching the real truth. This is why they don't want. This is why there's attack on Israelites now, because we're teaching the truth and they're trying to come against us. I seen a video surfacing. They trying to say the name of the Lord Yahweh Shah. It's anti-Semitism. Go ahead, someone read that, please. So now I've been consulting with a few other Israelite camps, like Yahweh's camp and a few. We're considering doing a class law action shoot against the government of America for anti-Shemitism, not Semitism, but Shemitism, for discriminating against the Israelites' religion.
Book of Numbers, chapter 7, verse 10. And the princes offered for dedicating of the altar in the day it was anointed. Even the princes offered their offering before the altar. And the Lord said unto Moses, they shall offer their offering, each prince on his day for the dedicating of the altar. And he that offered his offering the first day was Nahshon, the son of Amminadab, in the tribe of Yehoiada, Judah. And his offering was 1 silver charger. The weight thereof was 130 shekels, 1 silver bowl of 70 shekels, after the shekel of the sanctuary. Both of them were full of fine flour mingled with oil for a meat offering. There it goes again. 14, 1 spoon of 10 shekels of gold full of incense. 1 young bullock, 1 ram, 1 lamb of the first year for a burnt offering. 1 kid of the goats for a sin offering.
Come on. You could stop right there. So it's reference the altar rededication. This is described in the Apocrypha, and we're actually going to get to that. We're going to get to that as we proceed here. So as we see, this was actually traditionally 7 days, not 8 days like the Jewish people do. Now, I also looked up the entry from the King James Concordance. Hold on, let me go back and share my screen again. I think I put this in the slide also.
Connor, just for the record, my son did bring it up to me in his Bible. I believe it's a new NIV version. Instead of it saying meat offering, in his it says grain offering. Just to bring understanding. So I'm reading from a 1611 King James Bible, and it does say meat offering in the
oh, hold on a second. Let me stop sharing this for something. Because let me get some clarity. I could get this thing to come down on that real quick, man. Does anyone know why it says a meat offering there?
In relation to fine flour mingled with oil?
So give me Genesis 1:12. Let's see why it's using the word meat there. So make sure your son understand this. Genesis 1 verse 12.
Genesis 1:12. And the earth brought forth grass and herb yielding seed after his kind, and the tree yielding fruit, whose seed was in itself, after his kind, and God saw it was good.
So the herb, initially was used as meat until the Most High started us eating meat. So, I mean, that was our first form of food, was the herbs. So this is why his Bible says grains there, and it doesn't really use the word meat. You see what I'm saying? I mean, that's the only reason that's there to anyone that might be actually confused by that. All right, from there. So this is the entry from the King James Concordance, H2598, Hanukkah, right? Dedications. It's in Numbers. Someone get Numbers 784.
Book of Numbers, chapter 7, verse 84. This was a dedication of the altar, and the day when it was anointed by the princes of Israel, 12 chargers of silver, 12 silver bowls, 12 spoons of gold.
So we can see in the scriptures that the word Hanukkah refers to the dedication of the wall of Jerusalem, the house of David, right? An altar, right? An offering upon an altar. It never refers to dedicating oneself to Yahweh or his son. It doesn't say that. Yahweh Shah. It doesn't. Yet this is what many Hebrew Israelite believers say. This is why they say they're doing it. Oh, well, I celebrate Hanukkah because of Yahweh Shah. Scriptures are not saying that, though. To celebrate Hanukkah by dedicating oneself to Yahweh or Yahweh Shah is a man-made tradition. You understand? That's not what the Lord is saying in the scriptures for us to do. So and this is closely observed in the pagan traditions, right? So you got to be careful that you're not doing things that's prohibited, right? and that pagans are actually participating in, and so on and so forth. Because if you go off something like that, you might go off on something else. Let's get 1 Corinthians 3 and 16 through 17. So you're going to ask yourselves, where you're getting at, man. Hanukkah refers to the rededication of a physical temple. Keep that in mind. We just read that. Hanukkah is referring to the rededication of a physical temple during the time in Israel's history. And we should ask, why are followers, people that say they follow Yahweh Shah, Yeshua, are celebrating the rededication of a temple that is no longer standing?
Can I, Daddy? Yeah, as soon as we finish.
1 Corinthians chapter 3, verse 16. Know ye not that ye are the temple of Yahweh, and
so
that the Spirit of Yahweh
also.
And that the Spirit of Yahweh dwelleth in you. If any man defile the temple of God, him shall Yahweh destroy. For the
so you're a temple. You're a temple as well. So now, let's deal with some historical sources of the Feast of Dedication, right? Now, if we take a historical evidence, the word Hanukkah, as used in the Apocrypha, the book of Maccabees, then let us first consider the sources according to a dictionary, right? Now, there were originally 5 books of Maccabees. How many people knew that? There was originally 5 books of Maccabees. Yeah, the first contains a history of the War of Independence that was actually commencing in 175 BC. Now, in a series of patriotic struggles against the tyranny of Antiochus Epiphanes and terminating in 135 BCE. What happened in 135 BCE? In 135 BCE is when the Edomites stole our heritage. Then the other ones picked it up in Khazaria in 740 AD. So it became part of the Apocrypha, became part of the Vulgate version of the Bible and was actually retained among the Apocrypha. Now, the second gives a history of the Maccabees struggle in 176 to 161 BC. Its objective is to encourage and to admonish the Jews to be faithful to their religion of their forefathers. Now, the third does not hold a place in the Apocrypha, but is read in the Greek church. It is designed to confront the Alexandrian Jews, right, in their prosecution. And so the people that wrote it was probably in Alexandria. The fourth was found in the Library of Lions, but it was burned. The fifth contains a history of the Jews from 184 to 86 BC. It is a compilation made by a Jew after the destruction of Jerusalem from ancient times. Now, so it's actually been suggested, right, that First Maccabees and Second Maccabees present viewpoints of the Sadducees and the Pharisees, respectively, though it's actually generally agreed that First Mac is the most historical and most accurate. Some people they doubt the Apocrypha. This is where these Canaan don't allow it in the Bible. They removed it. The Roman Canaan Society. So the passage in question from First Maccabees 1 and 4 can be read in the Apocrypha, right? Can someone get that? First Mac, the 4th chapter. Anyone got Apocrypha with them?
First Maccabees chapter 4.
Con.
Verse 1.
Right.
Then took Gorgias 5,000 footmen and
Okay, so like it. So let me give you a brief synopsis of what's going on here, man. This is talking about Judas Maccabee, right? And his brothers at that time, and how they cleaned up the temple after it had actually been defiled by the Syrian Greeks and dedicated it back to Yahweh. Now, apparently, in accordance with the teachings of the book of Leviticus, chapter 8 and chapter 9, this was a good thing. They didn't ordain that a day be kept in order to remember this miraculous overcoming of the Syrian Greeks by the Jews. Do you understand? So go ahead, brother.
Then took Gorgias 5,000 footmen and 1,000 of the best horsemen and removed out of the camp by night. Verse 2, to the end he might rush in upon the camp of the Jews and smite them suddenly, and the men of the fortress were his guides. 3, now when Judas heard thereof, he himself removed, and the valiant men with him, and he might smite the king's army, which was at Emmaus. While as yet the forces were dispersed from the camp. In the mean season came Gorgias by night into the camp of Judas, and when he found no man there, he sought them in the mountains. For said he, these fellows flee from us. Verse 6, but as soon as it was day, Judas showed himself in the plain with 3,000 men, who nevertheless had neither armor nor swords to their minds. And they saw the camp of the heathen, and it was strong and well harnessed, and encompassed around about with horsemen, and these were experts of war. Then said Judas to the men that were with them, fear ye not their multitude, neither be afraid of their assault. Remember how our fathers were delivered in the Red Sea, when Pharaoh pursued them with an army. Now therefore let us cry unto heaven, if peradventure the Lord will have mercy upon us, and remember the covenant of our fathers, and destroy his host before our face this day.
It's a like it for a second. So now I want to say this, right? In the time of the Maccabean family, right? The Hasmoneans, right? They became drunk. These Syrian Greeks became drunk with power, and they turned, they turned it up on them, right? A lot of Israelites became corrupt and cruel. Now, it was only about 65 years after the Great Revolt and the rededication, that, Alexandra Zaninas, he put down a revolt by the Pharisees who actually challenged his corruption. He ordered that Jewish soldiers to crucify. Now, he ordered Jewish soldiers to crucify 800 of the Pharisees while they were hanging on crosses. He ordered that the throats of their children and their wives be cut in front of them while they watch. This could be read in the writing of JesISH, 13, 14, 2. That could be found in JesISH Antiquities. Now, so the Maccabean Revolt, which took place around 167, 164 BC, was destined to last a short time, right? Now, if we look at the writings of the prophet Daniel, right? Daniel maybe have made a prophetic picture of their uprising against the Greeks, but Daniel says that their efforts will bring only a little help. When we read someone get Daniel 11 and 34. So Daniel was looking in a prophecy and he saw this thing taking place. Daniel's 11 and 34.
Book of Daniel, chapter 11, verse 34. Now, when they shall fall, they shall be hoping with a little help, but many shall cleave to them with flatteries.
Come on. So he's talking about the Maccabean Revolt right there. Now, a century later, the Romans swept in to become Israel's new worst overlords. So eventually, the Maccabee spirit was reborn in persons of the Zealots. Anyone ever hear Sakari? They was a form of Zealots. This is why this guy Sakari trying to take his damn name from. These was Jews that carried this little special knife that was called a Sakari. And they go around slashing people up with it, man. They was masters of that little Sakari knife. They were Zealots. So that was the Maccabean spirit being reborn again, and people known as Zealots in 66 AD. So that ignited another revolt against the ruling Gentiles. But this fire turned inward and became a brutal civil war in which the Jews committed atrocities against Jews, just like you Negroes today. Chicago, California, so on and so forth. So the Roman 10th Legion, they pulled the temple down in 70 AD, and they burned Jerusalem, and they slaughtered thousands of Jews. And so the last zealot stronghold was at Masada. And this zealot stronghold at Masada ended in suicide 3 years later. Then the Jews were thrown into exile from the land until this day. Do you understand? So did you finish that out, good brother Yashabun? And Maccabees right there?
Yeah, that was it.
Yeah. So one thing that I want to note, take note to from the text in Maccabees is that we find no 8-day miracle of oil. I don't remember you reading that part, like how long that that oil lasts, because that's what this menorah is actually based upon. This is why they have them 8 candlesticks. But when you read the book of Maccabees, you don't find no 8-day miracle of oil. But these people that refer to themselves as Jews, they give various other reasons for the length of the holiday being 8 days. They suggest that the 8 days was actually celebrated because during the war with the oppressors, Israel had for several years been able to keep Sukkot. So since they were saying the Israelites couldn't keep the biblical commanded festival normally observed by all Israelites in the 7th month, another so-called Jewish tradition claims that 8 spears were left behind in the temple by the oppressors. You see what I'm saying? These are old traditions of man. And they were used as lampstands while the temple was actually cleaned up. Now, regarding the oil, when you look in the encyclopedias, one of the writers, Encyclopedia Judaica, he's stating plainly, and I quote, apparently, it is a legend that appears in early Talmudic. Now, to keep in mind, the Talmud don't have nothing to do with the Torah. That has nothing to do with our history, man. It's in Talmudic literature, particularly, right? So you find that in the Encyclopedia Britannica. So this has nothing to do with biblical history, right? So now you have some, when you read in this Encyclopedia Judaica, it says apparently it is a legend that appears in early Talmudic literature, particularly in a Barita Mishnah. According to the Encyclopedia Judaica, this states that on entering the temple, the Hasmoneans discovered that the Greeks had defiled all the oil except for one curse, right? Which contained enough oil to keep the candles burning for only 1 day. A miracle, however, happened. They suggest that enough oil only to keep the candle burning for 1 day actually lasted 8 days. And so now this is why you have two sects of people that follow Judaism fighting with one another, whether or not to assimilate into Greek culture, that, you know, you have a enough of oil only for 1 day, but it burned 8 days. So now we're going to use a 8 days on the menorah and 8 days on the high holy day. So this is why many of them do it. So we have a cleaning of the temple and rededication of it to Yahweh. But we do not have a miracle of 8 days of oil coming from a single day's portions, nor do we have an example of redirecting or dedicating oneself to Yahweh. These are man-made traditions. This is only found in the Talmud. It is not found in the Torah. They made this. And so the next thing is that, let me share my screen again, man. They made all this stuff up, and guess what? A lot of Israelites celebrate. A lot of Israelites are celebrating these things, man. Something else they do. They teach their children to gamble. And you Israelites don't get caught up into this. I go too far here. Right here. All right. Dreidel. They got songs about this. They use this to gamble.
They use this to teach into my head when I was in the 2nd grade in the Bronx. Serving applesauce and potato.
Yeah.
Or something crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. Jelly donuts. So they make hot cakes out of potatoes and onions. Put applesauce on top of it. So this dreidel, they spend this and they gamble. So now, can someone read that? The Bible does not specifically condemn gambling or the lottery, but the Bible does warn us to stay away from the love of money. Someone get that 1 Timothy 6 verse 10. So a lot of people try and justify gambling. Right? We need it for school. They justify the lottery. We could fund colleges. That's what this system does. 1 Timothy 6 and 10.
Wow. There's no other brothers.
1 Timothy 10. For the love of money is the root of all evil.
Con. So the scriptures say the love of money is the root of all evil, man. So not money, but when you fall in love with it. Because scripture also say the man that falls in love with money will never have enough of it. He always wants more. That's how it is with the rich, man. They always want more. The money becomes their God. From there, let's get Hebrews 13, verse 5.
Hebrews chapter 13, verse 5. Let your conversations be without covetousness.
Yeah, no envious sins, man. So a lot of people they get envious of their brother because your brother has something they don't have. So a lot of people, why people go play the lottery? They want to get rich quick scheme. That's why they play the lottery. That's why people gamble. People go out and gamble. You know how many people die in gambling disputes in the hood, shooting dice, playing card games, and it turns into a shootout. I grew up around that kind of stuff. I seen it happen. I almost got shot being around that kind of thing when I was a little boy. Men gambling, lose, don't have the money, pow, bullet goes off. Chasing one guy, seeing one guy get chased down the street, he shot him in the leg, guy still running, shooting back. Foolishness. Someone get Proverbs 13:11. I remember one bullet, man. I could feel the damn bullet. If I had took one more step, I would have been dead. I was walking up to this crap house, and there was a shot, and I could feel the bullet just past my face, man. Like, guys having a shootout over a dice game. Proverbs 13, verse 11.
Proverbs 13, verse 11. Wealth gotten by vanity shall be diminished.
Right. So the Lord said, when you get things that way, it's going to be diminished. Because why? It was vain. It was all for vanity. From there, let's go to the 23rd verse, good brother, verse 5. So wealth getting by gambling and your vain mind state is going to be diminished. They don't keep it. And if you notice, most people that win the lottery, right? You see a big fat so-called black woman on TV that won the lottery. She's living in a damn trailer park. Her hair wasn't done when she took the picture. A couple years later, few $1 million blown, gone. Just like that guy. What's that guy that took that ass whipping by all those cops? What was it? Late 90s? Yeah.
Rodney King.
Rodney King. Yeah. Rodney Queen, man. When they beat his ass, man, that dude, he won on an appeal, man. That dude got a few million, man. Don't you know he was broke before he died? Cause he got it through vain, man. He just, he became on drugs and all of that, man. The money consumed him. All right, go ahead, good brother.
Proverbs 23, verse 5. Wilt thou set thine eyes upon that which is not? For riches certainly make themselves wings. They fly away as an eagle toward heaven.
See that? See that? When you focus on the money's going to leave you, man. Your focus can't be on money, man. Your focus has to be on your purpose, man. Has to be. And Solomon, he's one of the richest kings ever, not just in the Bible, ever on this earth. And Solomon said it's all vanity. That's who's talking here, King Solomon. From there, go to Ecclesiastes. This was written by King Solomon also, 5 verse 10. So this love of money, it tempts people, man.
Ecclesiastes chapter 5, verse 10. He that loveth silver shall not be satisfied with silver.
See that? Man that has money is never going to have enough of it. He's never going to I need more, man. People go to Vegas, man. They know that. They play on people's emotions, man. So what's wrong with gambling, man? Gambling is difficult, man, because if it is actually not done in moderation and on occasions, it's a waste of money. But
that's just like Jake. Jake be a millionaire, and then Jake talking about, I want to be a billionaire now.
Yeah. I mean, you're a millionaire, man. They just want more of it, man. That lust, man. That lust, man. The Lord said that's the root of all evil, man. And why does men want money? They get more women. Because ultimately, what does it lead to? More material things. Everything is carnal about it, man. And so the devil knows this. That's why he made it the source of your survival. People used to barter things, man, before money came, man. You barter your skills and all of that. But now he said, hey, and we're going to make money difficult to get. You're going to have to use the sweat of your brow to get it. And so when you gamble for it, it could become an addiction, man. When I used to stay in Vegas, man, there was a lot of people that was in Gambling Anonymous. They gambled their whole checkup, man. Became homeless because they got addicted to it. So I mean, it could become a dangerous thing, man. So what does the Bible say about casinos, lotteries, and so on and so forth, man? It doesn't really talk about specifically, but it talks about not controlling your lust. And these things are designed to trick people anyways, man. They let a few people win every now and again, but the average person that go there, you're gonna take a tremendous loss. And so the way that it works, you lose so much, you want to stay there and win your money back. And they let you win a few times, then it increases that desire to want more. I was watching an episode of The Twilight Zone like that, man. The man, he pretend that he didn't want to play the lottery. He got addicted to it and then trying to blame his wife for it, man. And she woke up in the middle of the night. He downstairs playing the lottery. Like, damn, man.
I talked to a woman that worked for the lottery, and I asked her, and I said, well, she doesn't really do like the Mega Millions and whatnot, but they do like the tickets, you know, like those scratch offs and whatnot.
Yeah.
And so I asked her, I said, how many? I mean, do people really hit like on that like that? She was like, it's really rare. She was like, out of them big rolls that when you go to the store, them big rolls, tickets you buy individually or whatnot. I asked her how many winning tickets are in there. She said 1.
Look at that, man. Look at that. Yeah, it's crazy, man. I don't even know how to gamble, man. I see people in there, and I be getting pissed off, man. You go in the damn store, then I'm trying to get gas. Even at gas station now, they trying to get damn lottery tickets. And it's, I'm so far. Oh yeah, I hit with this one the last time. And that black woman come with a long ass list, and guess what? Most people that play the lottery, they can't afford to play it. Financially, they can't afford it, but they play it anyways, and hope and getting the big one. And for the few that do, man, they don't know how to really manage that money, so they end up losing it and become angry and bitter. They just go out and buy frivolous things, man, just material things. Give that right back to Esau. Let's get Proverbs. I think we might have read that 13 or 11. Let's get 1 Timothy 6 and 10.
First Timothy 6 and 10.
Come.
For the love of money is the root of all evil, which while some coveted after, they have erred from the faith and pierced themselves through with many sorrows.
So, I mean, that's what this dreidel does. I mean, it's really a device of gambling, man. And they teach their children to gamble for chocolates and things of that nature. And that dreidel, it's marked with 4 Hebrew letters, usually Nun, Gimel, Ha, and Shin. And those letters stand for the Hebrew phrase Nashgoda Hashem. So a great miracle happened then, referring to the miracle of the oil. So that's what they're basically referring to, but they literally let their children gamble for chocolates and things of that nature. For this, this thing, and I don't see any Israelites doing that. It's just mostly those that refer to themselves as Jews that actually do this. Now, a lot of Israelites, they take on these customs, though. They follow the ways of these people, and you see it mixed into their congregations. Now, when the Most High, Yahweh, gave the instructions to make the menorah, he gave specific instructions. Never did he tell us to make a 9 candlestick menorah. The Most High said that the menorah was made precisely after the pattern of heaven. It had 7 candlesticks. It was to be of 7 branches. That's what it says in the Torah. So in the making of the 7 lamps of the menorah, with the 7th lamp being fixed to the center shaft, we read in the book of Shemot. Someone get Exodus 25 and 40. Exodus 25, verse 40.
Exodus 25 and 40. And look that thou make them after their pattern, which was shewed in the mount.
So the Lord said we make them after a pattern that was showed on the mountain. That's how the menorah is supposed to look.
Yeah, it describes it in 32.
Read that.
Exodus 25 and 32. And 6 branches shall come out of the sides of it, 3 branches of the candlesticks out of one side, and 3 branches of the candlesticks out of the other side. So that right there is a total of 7.
Come on. And so we're not supposed to be adding to the orders of the Most High, nor shall we take away. Get Devarim 4 and 2. Get Numbers 4 verse 2.
Numbers 4 verse 2. Take the sum of the sons of Kohath from among the sons of Levi after their families by the house of their fathers.
Keep reading.
From 30 years old and upward, even until 50 years old, all that enter into the host to do the work in the tabernacle of the congregation. This shall be the service of the sons of Kohath in the tabernacle of the congregation about the most holy things. And when the camp setteth forward, Aaron shall come and his sons, and they shall take down the covering veil and cover the ark of the testimony with it, and shall put thereon a covering of badger skins, and shall spread it over a cloth wholly of blue, and shall put it in the staves thereof. And upon the table of the shewbread, they shall spread a cloth of blue, and put thereon the dishes and the spoons and the bowls and the covers to cover with all.
So the Most High, the point is here is the Most High gives us specific ways to do everything that he wants us to do. From there. Now, with that in mind, let's read Deuteronomy 4, verse 2. So the Most High gives us a specific way how to do this thing, man.
Deuteronomy chapter 4, verse 2. Ye shall not add unto the word which I command you, neither shall you diminish out from it.
So the Lord said we're not supposed to add or take away. What have they done in the Jewish tradition? What they call Hanukkah is changing and adding to the menorah. They put 9 branches on it. Is it not? Is this a good thing?
No.
Yeah. Some may say, well, not actually adding to the word, but it's adding to the instructions of the word, or at least changing something based on the instructions of the Most High. So do we live in a loophole, or do we do what the Most High says? Stay pure and true to the spirit of the law, or do we follow the traditions of man? I'm gonna show you. Let me show you how the original menorah look. I'm gonna show you how the original menorah look. Hold on, let me share my screen again. This is what the menorah is still supposed to look like, even on Hanukkah. That they've changed a lot of stuff here, man. Now people are following it. Okay. That's what the menorah looks like. This is from ancient artifacts right here. You see that? This is exactly what Yasha ben read. That's how it's supposed to look. Now, does anyone see 9 branches on that? No. Here it is again. This is the archaeological evidence from Herod's temple between 50 BC and 100 AD. See that menorah there? It doesn't, I purposely circled this. It doesn't have 9 there. It has 7. It has 7. Why are they using 9? Because it's the traditions of men. It's the traditions of the Talmud. Here it is again. These are ancient artifacts. You can see these Negroes. You see that here? You see that here? See those afros? You see that? Look what they got there. They got the menorah, man. This is sacred. See, below is the menorah as it appeared on the Ark of Titus, an heroic ark located in Via Sacra in Rome and built by the emperor. That's what it looked like right there. They're carrying the lampstand, the menorah. Now, this is what they have in Israel today. They have the right one there. This is what the Israeli government use. That's not how it looks downtown Brooklyn. They got the one with the nine stands on it here, with that one higher. And here's a so-called Kahan and the temple lighting it. Can someone read that? He's not even doing it correctly, not according to what the scriptures say. In Shemot, Exodus 25 and 37. Someone get Exodus 25:37. See, below is the menorah in a depiction of a Kohan, so-called priest, lighting the wicks. Now, notice how the flame on the left branches direct to the light, and on the right branches directed towards the left, all facing the center shaft. It does not seem to be in accordance with the scriptures, which state, "And you shall make 7 lamps for it, and they shall mount its lamps so that they give light in front of it." That's Exodus 25:37. So arranging the lamps to the side seems to be in violation of the scriptures. Do you understand? This is a Babylonian custom. Why are they doing it? Let's find out the reasons why they're doing it. Because Babylonian influence. It becomes apparent. This is not our history right here, man. This is what they do. Is everyone getting that? Does everyone see that shot? You see how they got 9 here, and the center one is raised higher? We can't find that in scripture. That's not scriptural. This right here is from the Talmud. This is the tradition of man. Neither is this scripture. That's not scripture. You'll be astonished by what you thought you knew. You're following the traditions of men. Why are they doing this? So notice the center shaft, the last 2 Hanukkahs that we saw, the center staff of that menorah is higher. And that's what they're calling the shamash, right? Now there's another word in Hebrew, shamash, which refers to the sun. Now that should be something of interest, right? A light should go off. Now I already looked up the complete word study definition of shamash. A common noun meaning sun. A common noun meaning sun. Daylight. It refers to our heavenly body, the sun. So, I mean, they're referring to the sun right there. And keep in mind that a lot of Israelites fell into the sun worship, man. And you could reference that in these scriptures right here that I got here. They started worshiping the sun god, Nimrod, believing the sun to be God. So, as I state here, to my knowledge, the word shamash doesn't appear in the Bible. The word used for servant is ibed, Strong's 5650, and is used over 800 times in the King James versions to describe the concept of servant. The word shamash, that's what they use, is Akkadian in origin and is a conjugate of the Hebrew word shemesh. So you see how they throw you off? Meaning sun. So the meaning of the word in Akkadian refers to the god of justice in the Babylonian pantheon. Also, there's a Canaanite goddess named Shapash, whose name also is related to this word. This is what they have. It's sun worship. That looks like a sundial. Bayet Shamash. This is what the Jewish people worship. Kind of almost look like the same thing that the Azblet sets on, because they're worshiping the sun god. Here's another emblem. Hold on. Here's another emblem for the contemporary city of Bet Shemesh. See the sun in it? It's kind of telling the truth. So that sundial that we saw on the floor on the ground represented this sun right here. The municipality of Bet Shemesh. To this day, the place continues to be associated with the sun. So they're worshiping the sun god Nimrod. Interesting. Now here's some. This is the table I'm trying to put together here. So these are the Babylonian things that they're paying homage to. Baal, that was a so-called sun god. Nimrod, say Nimrod was reincarnated as Baal, the sun god. Then you got his mother, Semiramis. Then you got Tammuz. So you got God the Father, Baal. Then you got the mother, who's symbolic to the moon goddess. That's where your Monday comes from. Then you got the child god, Tammuz, because remember, I mean to go there. Tammuz and Nimrod is actually supposed to be one and the same. So, and he's represented by what? This four-pointed star, or the obslet, which is actually a representation of the penis, so-called Nimrod. The mother is represented by the crescent moon, or uterus, or eight-pointed star. See that? And Tammuz is the solar wheel, or the eye in the pyramid. All over Esau's dollar bills and money. That's what this is all about. That was a representation of Herod's temple. Hold on a second. I didn't mean to go to that inscription. I lost my place here. I went too far here. Right. So that was a representation. I keep losing that spot, man. Herod's temple right there. This is supposed to be inscription in Greek recorded by the Israel Department of Antiquities in the museum. Now, this is Maccabees. Can someone read that? First Mac 4:36-59. You didn't read all the way down there, did you, brother? Down to the 36th verse. Yeah, to start at verse 36 there.
You want me to read it off the screen or read it off the
book? Yeah, you can read it off the screen. It's going to read a little different on the screen.
First Maccabees chapter 4, verse 36. Then said Judas and his brethren, behold, our enemies are discomfited. Let us go up to cleanse and dedicate the sanctuary. Upon this, all the hosts assembled themselves together and went up into Mount Sion. Yeah. And when they saw the sanctuary desolate.
That's just a Greek word rendering of Zion. Sion. Yeah.
Mount Zion. And when they saw the sanctuary was desolate and the altar profane and the gates burned up and the shrubs growing in the courts as it is in a forest or in one of the mountains, yea, the priest's chambers pulled down, they rent their clothes and made great lamentation and cast ashes upon their heads and fell down flat to the ground upon their faces and blew an alarm with the trumpets and cried toward heaven. Then Judas appointed certain men to fight against those that were in the fortress until he had cleansed the sanctuary. So he chose priests of blameless conversation, such as had pleasure in the law, who cleansed the sanctuary and bear out the defiled stones into the unclean place. And when as they consulted what to do with the altar of burnt offerings, which was profane, they thought it best to pull it down, lest it be a reproach to them, because the heathen have defiled it. Wherefore they pulled it down and laid up stones in the mountain of the temple in a convenient place, until there should come a prophet to shew what should be done with them. Then they took whole stones according to the law and built a new altar according to the former, and made up the sanctuary and the things that were within the temple, and hollowed the courts, and made also new holy vessels. And into the temple they brought the candlestick and the altar of burnt offerings and of incense and the table. And upon the altar they burned incense, and the lamps that were upon the candlesticks they lit, or they lighted, and they might have give light in the temple, that it might give light in the temple.
Come. Furthermore, they set loaves upon the table and spread out the veils and finished all the works which they had begun to make. Now on the 25th day of the 9th month, which is called the month of Kislev, in the 148th year, they rose up betimes in the morning and offered sacrifice according to the law upon the new altar of burnt offerings which they had made. Look at what time and what day the heathens had profaned it, even in that it was dedicated with songs and chithrons and harps and cymbals. Then all the people fell upon their faces, worshiping and praising Yahweh of heaven, who had given them good success. So basically, to keep the dedication of 8 days and offered burnt offerings with gladness and sacrifice, the sacrifices to deliverance and praises. They decked also the forefront of the temple with crowns of gold, with shields and gates and chambers. They renowned and hanged the doors upon them. Thus, they were very great gladness amongst the people, that the reproach of the heathen was put away. Moreover, Judas and his brethren, with the whole congregation of Israel, ordained that the days of the dedication of the altar should be kept in their seasons from year to year by the space of 8 days from the 25th day of the month. Someone read that? Exodus 25:31 to 40.
You are to make a menorah of pure gold. It is to be made of hammered work. Its base, shaft, cups, ring of outer leaves, and petals are to be of one piece with it. It is said to have 6 branches extended from its sides, 3 branches of the menorah on one side of it and 3 on the other. On one branch are to be 3 cups shaped like almond blossoms, each with a ring of outer leaves and petals. Likewise, the opposite branch, 3 cups shaped like almond blossoms, each with a ring of outer leaves and petals, and similarly for all 6 branches extending from the menorah. On the central shaft of the menorah are to be 4 cups shaped like almond blossoms, which each with its ring of outer leaves and petals. Where each pair of branches joins a central shaft, it is to be a ring of outer leaves of one piece with the pair of branches, thus all 6 branches. The rings of the outer leaves and the branches are to be of one piece with the shaft. Thus the whole menorah is to be a single piece of hammered work made of pure gold. Make 7 lamps for the menorah and mount them so as to give light to the space in front of it. Its tongs and trays are to be of pure gold. The menorah and its utensils are to be made of 66 pounds of pure gold. See that you make them according to the design being shown
See
on
that?
the mountain.
See that? See that? That's crystal clear. So how they come up with 9? It's not Torah centered. Let's go to Yachanan 10 and 24. Then came the Jews round about him and said unto him, how long dost thou make us to doubt? If thou be Yahweh Shah, tell us plainly. Yahweh Shah answered him, I told you, and you believe not the works that I do in my Father's name. They bear witness of me, but you believe not, because ye are not of my sheep. As I said unto you, my sheep hear my voice, and I know them, and they follow me. And I give unto them eternal life, and they shall never perish, neither shall any man pluck them out of my hand. So Christ said, none of mine are lost. My Father, which gave them me, is greater than all, and no man is able to pluck them out of my Father's hand. I and my Father are one. Then the Jews took up stones again to stone him. Yahweh Shah answered them, many good works have I showed you from my Father. For which of these works do you stone me? This is what I'm saying to everyone that I've been trying to help, man. Which one of my good works you want to stone me for? You can see who didn't show up today. Jews answered him, saying, for a good work we stone thee not, but for blasphemy, and because that thou, being a man, makest thyself Yahweh. Yahweh Shah answered them, is it not written in your law, I said you are gods? What is he talking about? It's Psalms 82, verse 6. If he called them gods, into whom the word of God come, and the scriptures cannot be broken, which means there's no lies in the scriptures, say ye of him whom the Father hath sanctified and sent into the world, thou blasphemest, because I said I am the son of Yahweh? If I do not the works of my Father, believe me not. But if I do, though you believe not me, believe the works, that you may know and believe that the Father is in me and I in him. Oh, wow. In that, man.
Oh, that spirit was getting heavy.
I think that was the last slide. Therefore, they sought again to take him, but he escaped out of their hand and went away again beyond Jordan, in the place where Yachanan at first baptized, there he abode. And many restored unto him and said, Yachanan did no miracle, but all these things that Yachanan spake of this man were true, and many believe on him there. So a lot of people started to believe on him there because of the miracles that he worked. Wow. All right. So I guess that's pretty much the gist of it. So I mean, pretty much, man, you just don't want to stray away from, doing what the Torah says. The Torah tells us to use the 7-prong menorah. The Torah also tells us not to add or take away from the words of what the scriptures say. And, none of the scriptures can be broken. So, we want to try to live that out and not add to or take away. And so, that's all I have. Anyone else got anything else? Brother Shah?
Well, brother, be honest, all is new information to me. So,
Oh yeah. No.
Is an eye opener. Because a lot of the stuff that went over today, I have done, have indulged in. And
Come.
not knowing the scriptures to the fullest, and now understanding and seeing, I mean, I have a lot of growing up to do within the word itself and understanding more of the word. So it was powerful, very much so powerful. Once again, some great work.
Yeah. So I mean, pretty much, you know, this is also done, you know, as a remembrance of, you know, the Maccabean Revolt when we revolted against the Greeks. So you know, it was a celebration of us actually taking the temple back for a short time. So you know, as we read, we supposed to keep this traditionally year after year, pretty much, you know, until Hamashiach's you know, second return. We supposed to really be keeping all these high holy days. A lot of people don't do them though, man. They'll celebrate Christmas. They'll celebrate these other traditions, but you know, they won't do what the Torah says, man. But hey, to each his own. Like you see, only a few of us showed up here, man, today, man. But it is what it is, man. Can't say they didn't get the notice, but they got better things to do. It's kind of like, you know, what I initially started off talking about, man. They, you know, people want to be like halfway Israelites. They don't want to keep the laws. They just want to be an Israelite when it's convenient. You know what I mean? But they wonder why, you know, their lives are, you know, in the circumstances that it's in. But yeah, I mean, that's it. And so with that, I guess, you know, we could say shalom, man. But you know, we'll try and end this like, you know, next week at the seminar, man. We'll have the ending of this feast dedication.
We
Con.
got the special treats already ready.
Yeah. All right. Shalom.
Shalom.
All right, peace.